So let's continue by describing the basic function of phagocytes and what happens. Remember, we were talking about the pathogen-associated molecular pattern, which is attached to bacteria or antigens as they are encountered by the TLRs, or pattern recognition receptors. Or what happens is that the PAMPs, or pathogen-associated molecular patterns attached to the bacterium, come into contact with the TLRs, and remember that the TLRs are actually PRRs. Remember that the PRRs are pattern recognition receptors. So one type of pattern recognition receptor is a TLR. And so what happens is that after the bacterium or antigen has entered the phagocyte, it is encountered by a phagosome, and then a lysosome will join in the party, and it will become a phagolysosome, which will take care of that bacterium, and then through exocytosis it will exit the macrophage. Now, there are other processes involved, and we will talk about antigen presentation later, but also remember that in this process, phagocytes macrophages would also in some cases produce pro-inflammatory cytokines, and in this video we're going to talk about the role of cytokines and inflammation. So to basically summarize what happens in the phagolysosome, what happens is there is a killing of microbes by lysosomal enzymes in the phagolysosomes, and remember that there is a killing of the phagocytosed microbes by ROS and nitrous oxide. Sorry, that would be nitric oxide. Describe further the function of ingesting and destroying microbes by phagocytes. What players would be involved in this system? The function of ingesting and destroying microbes is mediated by phagocytes, which include neutrophils early in the innate immune response and macrophages later in the response. So remember that first you would have neutrophils, and then you would have macrophages that are coming in to clean up. So continuing on talk about monocytes or macrophages, remember that monocytes would be circulating in the blood, whereas macrophages would be circulating in the tissue. And now remember also that there is differentiation and activation of these macrophages. What are the types of macrophages that we found in the CNS? The types of macrophages found in the CNS would be microglial cells. What types of macrophages would you find in the liver? These would be Kupffer cells. What types of macrophages would you find in the lung? These would be alveolar macrophages. What types of macrophages would you find in the bone? These would be osteoclasts. What other roles do macrophages play besides killing and clearing pathogens? Macrophages also play a role in coordinating other cells and tissues into a supporting system to clear infection. One main example of this would be cytokines, and the cytokines here produced by the macrophages would be interleukin-1, interleukin-6, and tissue necrosis factor alpha. And what do these cytokines do? Interleukin-1, interleukin-6, and tissue necrosis factor alpha would promote the inflammatory responses and also promote an acute phase response. Describe cytokines. Cytokines are soluble proteins that mediate the immune and inflammatory reaction and are responsible for communication. What type of cells secrete cytokines that mediate many of the cellular reaction of innate immunity? In response to microbes, dendritic cells, macrophages, and other cells secrete cytokines that mediate many of the cellular reaction of innate immunity, and most are defined as interleukins cells.